Oh, I try to veer away. I don't know. I held on to the flip phone for as long as possible. Flip phone's the greatest. It's just a phone, you know.
Why would you veer away?
It's a distraction, you know. And we're all fools for it. You know, we all will get sucked right in. You have a computer in your pocket. You're gonna be on Instagram and Facebook and looking at what your friends are doing. You won't be able to help yourself, and I admit that fully. I'm a sucker just like the next guy. So the only way to avoid it is to make a stand against it and like remind yourself, don't do that, you know? So I now have not a flip phone for work because I have to, but I don't get data on it. And I make sure not to, you know? Because that'll send me in the wrong path. And you just gotta be conscious of the path you walk, that's all.
Shun technology for what reason?
Just it's too much. I think there's too much bullshit around it. Like too many people prize what something is said over social media or through an online means as being gospel. Whereas it gets to the point where people are standing beside each other, texting each other on their phones rather than looking at each other in the face and answering a question or like talking to each other. Like, and I found that when I went traveling, and I broke my phone, smashed it, and then it kind of even. So I left the job and said I had enough of that, and then I went traveling, and then a lot of my tech failed, and it was a real kind of. I actually don't care. Once we pair of headphones and access to tunes, we're all golden. Like, and then obviously when I got to Vancouver, I thought about going into some big companies here like Hootsuite and like really like progressive kind of tech companies here in Vancouver, but I fell into wild foods and kind of rekindled the love for food and hospitality in restaurants, and so I was out picking up in the bush and like picking mushrooms and doing all that kind of thing, and that was a good time. Like, and it's all sustainability, recycling, looking after the earth, like doing what you can, like eating right, eating healthy, all that kind of. It's good.
Well, there are like a lot of things that are getting worse, like climate change is going on. And like there are still like a lot of issues in the world that we still have to solve, but I guess in a way things are getting better, as in we're advancing technologically. But I guess the biggest part is we're just like learning ourselves as a society, and we're growing together.
So the best thing that everybody can do is stop listening to the media and just do your own research. Find thousands of sources, you know, try to weed out the wheat from the chaff, you know, so that you can figure out which is kind of BS, and eventually the cream will rise to the top and the BS will sink to the bottom, and you'll start to see the big picture. But you have to work at it, and it helps to be on forums. Facebook's helpful for that because it allows you to connect with thousands of other people, and together you work like a giant sieve to filter through all the information and figure out what really matters and what doesn't, what's really true and what isn't. And if people can start doing that instead of just eating the news, the nightly news like pablum, they're going to find that they're going to see a much clearer picture of what's really going on.
Overall, despite what it may look like, I think things are getting better. I think just because we have so much access to worldwide media, we only see the bad stuff, when in the past 100 years we've actually made such big gains. I think child mortality or child death rate is down to 1% worldwide, as opposed to 7 that it was way back when. So I think overall we're heading in a good direction. We just see only the bad stuff and don't focus on the good.
I think it's really good. Like, if you had asked me 10 years ago, I would have been a little bit more cynical and a little bit more confused. But I think because of the internet, and maybe just the nature of film versus literature, or basically a text website versus a video on a website, how you can captivate an audience, and the nature that the internet has sort of gone in especially the last 5 years, maybe 10 years, there's going to be a ton of need for video. I am by no means a great salesperson or businessman, and I have lots of work, just because I think as long as you focus on doing good work and valuing yourself appropriately, I think there's so much opportunity right now. the size of business. Some of the smallest businesses I've worked for, I'm surprised they need videos, and they were right. And then there's like obvious ones like the bigger companies like Lululemon or whatever that are in Vancouver. I've even done stuff for Toyota where you'd expect them to hire a huge company out of like LA to do their stuff, but they would rather save the money and even take like a chance on somebody in local. So I think there's a ton of opportunity. I think if you're just kind of creative, you have good work, you have the chops, that kind of, you made the mistakes basically. In my case, it took me a long time to learn, but as long as you actually have a craft that's valuable, I think, honestly, I think we're just looking at the tip of the iceberg. I can't remember the exact statistics of it, but the amount of data uploaded to just YouTube every day is sort of astronomical, and people say it's peaking, and I think they're way off.
I think that'd be great, because honestly, the ideas of like altruism and like utopian society is the idea that people are free to do what they want to do, and those jobs that we don't want to do can be taken up not by people who don't get paid enough, but by machines.
But it's a little bit sad too when you see people ordering their food and stuff through a computer and then there's no human interaction anymore. Or at a grocery store, you don't have to go through the checkout. So yeah, they can take our jobs, and I don't even think about that. I think about like less human interaction.
Are people forgetting to know how to interact? Are we losing it?
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
But at the same time, I think there's people who are making that effort to interact.
Here we are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.